everyone, it's Kelly from Kelly's Bead Boutique. So I've had a few people mention that they really miss my original intros where I would come on and, be a little bit more spontaneous, but sometimes I just don't have time for anything, but I'm going to try my hardest. So you will notice in the background, I'm in my home. This is my side of the office that's nice and neat, and this is my husband's. Sorry, it doesn't look so nice. Not a very good backdrop. I also don't have a mic on today because I forgot it at the store. And the reason I'm doing this here versus the store is because my store has just been kind of torn apart, and we're redoing a few little things, and I will show you at some point, but right now it doesn't look so nice. So I thought I'd try and get this done here. So today is my 100th video. I cannot believe that I've done 100 videos. It's crazy. And I want to thank each and every one of you that has watched, subscribed, commented. It means the world to me. And I am so blessed to be able to continue to do what I love to do, which is to show you how much fun and how easy it is to make jewelry. So now I just got back from a trip to Tucson, and it's where I go every year. I drive over 6,600 kilometers. I know it's crazy, but I actually love the drive. I drive all the way down there, and I get kind of in my head a little bit and think about some of the best things that I can do for the store. And then I go down there and pick out all kinds of beautiful beads and findings for my store. Now, while I was there, I met a couple really special people. Well, I actually met a ton of people, and I want to thank you all for coming up and saying hi, like, oh, you look familiar. How do I know you? Or, oh, hey, are you Kelly? Or whatever people were saying. But I met a couple people that really touched my heart. One of the people that I met in Tucson was Kristen. She drove all the way up from Phoenix, Arizona just to meet me. I couldn't believe that she would do that, but it was awesome. And Kristen, you are lovely. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to drive up and meet me. And also, Kristen gave me the most beautiful gift. Look at this gorgeous thing. So she bought me this insulated container, and she is a fiber artist, so she crocheted this gorgeous cozy that comes with a little strap. Is that not the nicest thing? And of course, in these gorgeous sunset colors. I just love it. I'm taking it to the store today, and I'm going to use this. So thank you again so much, Kristen. That was so very nice of you, and I will remember it forever. The other person that I met was Danielle Wicks, and you might remember that I did a collab sort of with her where I did her earrings last year on my channel, and she was a guest designer at the Tierra Cast event, and she was every bit as lovely as I thought she would be, and it was so cute because I was so excited to meet her. I couldn't believe that I was going to get to meet her, and she felt the same way about me, so it was a mutual love fest. It was cute. So Danielle, it was lovely to meet you, and she gifted me with this beautiful bracelet. Look at that. I'll see if I can get it up close enough. It's all, I think this is called peyote stitch. I'm not a seed beater. This is, I believe, peyote stitch, and look at the way that she finishes the back. So it's all completely beaded in the front, and then she's got leather and charms, and she makes them adjustable, which is great because I have a big wrist. So Danielle, thank you so much for this generous gift. That was very lovely, and I absolutely enjoyed spending the day with you. So again, I want to thank all of you for supporting my little channel. I can't believe how fast I've grown. I'm over 36,000 subscribers right now, which just is mind-boggling. I can't believe it. And I want to thank all of you that have supported my store. It's very, very scary in retail land right now. Stores are going out of business left, right, and center, and I'm doing every single thing that I can to stay in business, but it's not easy right now. So if you support my store, it enables me to be able to do what I do, and I thank you literally from the bottom of my heart for being able to do that. I'm not a millionaire. Yeah, I got a nice house. I bought it back in the days when I worked for the police. So I don't get rich having a store. It's just something that I love to do. I love to be able to create. I love to be able to provide something wonderful for the community. And I give 7 people jobs. And I think that's a really, awesome thing to be able to do. And it's not a pat on my back. It's just, I want to create an environment that everybody enjoys. So if you support me in any way, shape, or form, I want to thank you so much. It's meant the world to me. So let's get on with this video, my 100th video on YouTube. Thanks again for watching, and come and join me. Okay, so our parts today are going to include some 2mm leather, and I have about 50 inches here or so. I also have some large hole beads, and these ones are about 10mm, and if you buy a kit, you'll get the whole strand so that you have lots of beads to choose from. And we're only going to be using a pair of sharp scissors and a little bit of GS Hypo. And we're also going to be using one of our barrel knot tubes. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is make my clasp. And so I'm going to turn back about 2 or 3 inches of my leather, and I'm going to have my long one on top. I always want to have that on top as a reminder of which one I'm going to be using to do the wrapping with. So now I'm going to take my barrel knot tube and I'm going to place it in between the 2 pieces of leather, and I'm going to make a 3 wrap barrel knot. So I'm going to go around once, twice, 3 times, always working towards my left hand. Then I'm going to take the end and I'm going to pop it through the back end of the tube, pull the tube out. You can see I'm still holding onto that knot. I always want to make sure that I know where my knot is and that it's not going to fall apart. Now we don't need a very big clasp on this, so what I'm going to do is pull this one here, just a short one, and that will shorten it up. And I know it's a little bit wasteful, but it's a whole lot easier to make knots when you're not trying to scrimp on a little teeny tiny bit. So we want this clasp to be about the size of your bead. So I'm going to start to make it a little bit smaller. So what I do to make sure that I'm not making it in the wrong place is I take my thumbnail and I place it about where I want that knot. So I'm going to start cinching up that knot, and I just kind of push it into place. And now I'm going to take it and try and get it through a bead. And that's about perfect. What I want is the bead, you can see that the bead kind of takes up the entire circle there. This will stretch out ever so slightly, but you don't want it so big that it falls off because you need a little bit of tension to hold it on your wrist. So that's about perfect. So I'm going to take that out. Now I'm going to place my thumbnail back there again, and now I'm going to really tighten that up. So I just pull and pull and pull. Be careful that you don't, break your leather, so you want to make sure that you're pulling in the right places. And then now I'm going to take my sharp scissors and I'm going to trim this little tail off, and you will see a bit of it. So if it really bothers you, you can always take a little bit of a black Sharpie or something like that and just kind of dab on there, and that will help take away some of that brightness. So why don't I go grab a Sharpie and I'll show you what I mean. So a nice little trick is just take your Sharpie and just kind of dab on the end, and it doesn't really matter what color your leather is, because now you can see just with a little tiny bit of Sharpie, it kind of takes away that glaringly obvious part that I cut that. So it's just kind of a little trick there. So now I'm going to take some of my GS Hypo. So I want to make sure that I get enough glue on here that it will stop this knot from opening up. So I'm not like bathing in it, but I do have a fair amount, and I'm going to put a little dab on this side too. So I'm just going to wait for a couple minutes while that dries. Okay, so I'm just about dry on here, so I think we can get started. So one of the things you want to do first is take your scissors and cut a little bit of a sharp angle on the end. You'll find that the leather can get a bit blunt, and it can make it a little bit hard to go through the beads. So I'm going to pop on one of these beautiful drusies. Now, we do have many different colors for kits available on this one, but a lot of them are limited, and I think the druzy is one of the ones that are limited. Now, I am going on a buying trip in a little while, and I'm hoping I can get some more, but I think this one is so pretty mixed with this antique purple leather. And we're going to choose the leather for you, so you don't even have to go to that trouble, so it's just picking out the kits. It's going to be super simple. Okay, so I have my bead on there. So now I'm going to be doing a double barrel knot in between. So I'm going to take my tube and place it above my leather because I'm just working with one piece of leather this time. So now I'm going to wrap around and I'm going to work towards my left hand. I do 2 wraps, and then I take my end, run it through the back, pull the tube out, and give it a pull. And I don't pull it tight because I want to make sure I can get that into position before I tighten it up. So I want to get that into position. And I find that my nails are sort of a really good bonus on this. It does kind of help push them around. So now we have a nice little double barrel knot in there. So now I'm going to take my end again, find another bead, and put that through. And if you find that you can't get your leather through one side of your bead, turn your bead over and try going the other way. The way that they make these beads, they start on one side and then they go on the other. So often you can have one side that's a little bit more narrow than the other side, but usually your leather will slip right through. So making another double barrel knot. And this one kind of got away from me, but I recovered it. Okay, so now I'm just going to push that in between. So I do want these sandwiched in nice and tight. I don't want a lot of give in there. You'll find that this bracelet will loosen up over time when you wear it, so you don't want to have it loose to start off with. So I'll show you a couple more, and then I'll show you how I end this. So I put on my bead, take my tube, place it on top of my leather, do 1 wrap towards me and 1 towards my left hand, take the end, run it through the tube, and pull that through. And then I make sure that this first one here is not going over the second one. If it does that, you'll notice right away that your barrel knot didn't work out, and that's the best time is to pull it out and redo it before you tighten it up. Okay, so I'm going to put another bead on, and I'm going to turn this so that the good part is up. Now I'm going to put my tube up, make one wrap, and make a wrap towards the left. Take the end, put it through, and then put that into position. So it just takes a little bit of fussing around to make sure it slips in there. So I'm just going to finish up this bracelet, and I will come back and show you how I end it. Okay, so I've got all of my beads on there and all my little double wraps. So the way that I'm going to end this is I'm going to take one final bead. So I'll explain a little bit more about the sizing and how many I've used at the end. So I'm going to take my last bead and I'm going to place it on. And then I'm going to do just not a double one, but just a sort of a single knot. So I'm just going to go around once, and you don't even really need the tube. I just find that it makes it easier for pushing the knot in place where I want it. So I'm just going to make a single knot, and I'm going to push that down nice and tight towards that last bead there. I'm going to get that in there nice and snug. And then I'm going to give this a trim. So I want to leave a little tiny tail, not much. I could cut that down a little bit more. And again, we can take our Sharpie just so that we don't have those glaringly obvious cuts. And nobody would ever be the wiser that this is, you know, purple leather and that I've used a black Sharpie. So then I'm going to take a little bit of GS Hypo. Oops, this one's quite stringy today. So I'm not going to use a ton of it, but I am going to soak that pretty good on both sides of that cut there. I just don't want it dripping all over the place, but you also don't want this to come apart. So I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to show you how this whole bracelet works. Okay, so I have my bracelet that I made earlier, and this one is with the beautiful magnesite and the beachy colored leather. So you can see the way that this ends. It just literally goes inside that. You pop it on there, and then that is a little bit of resistance when you've got it on. I didn't think that this would work. I thought, okay, well, once you put it on, it's going to work its way out. But if you make this loop small enough, it doesn't. I had my staff test it out yesterday in the store to make sure that it didn't come off, and it actually works pretty good because you've got that little bit of resistance there. So I think the key is to make sure that you make this loop just barely big enough to go over top of that, and then you try not to stretch it out too much. But I think this is kind of like the perfect solution. I get a lot of emails asking, you know, what can I make for a man where I don't have a clasp? And I'm always scratching my head going, well, what can you use? And I think this one would actually work really nicely for a man. So we are going to have all kinds of really great colors. And like I said before, we will pick the leathers out for you, so you won't even have to do that. So you'll get enough to do a full bracelet. This one has 13 in total, and this one fits about a 6.5 to a 6 3/4 wrist, and this one has 14 in total, and it fits about a 7 1/4 inch wrist. So just by adding one bead, it makes quite a big difference on the sizing on it. But I think these are really pretty. They take literally no time at all to make. And I think, again, it's going to be great, perfect for people that don't like clasps or that are allergic to metals. And I think it's just kind of something a little bit different. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give me a like, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from everybody. And if you haven't, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. I want to thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, cars, I'm trying to do this video, and I'm trying not to cry. And my right eye is weeping. And I don't have a mic on. I just realized that. And I want to another car. Cars, can you just go away? It's a business. Okay, cars, you can go away. Oh, I know her. Hey, Mel. She used to work for me. When you get old, your eyes weep. I know what I want to say. So I have no idea what I want to say. And it was lovely. I think I've said lovely 100 times in this video so far, and my eye keeps weeping. What is wrong with me? See, people, this is why I don't do these damn intros.